Hello, hello. I'm Tracy Blehm with Lazia Mind Body Health, and here today we're going to talk about our daily spark of how to break free of the golden handcuffs so that you can have more. Now, you may be asking, what are golden handcuffs? Well, my version that I've seen over the years is golden handcuffs are when we hit a certain income or lifestyle level and we get stuck. So in the beginning, what happens is we get out of school, get out of college, university, whatever, and we get into the workforce and we are driven. We will do whatever it takes. Overtime, menial jobs, working 2 jobs, 3 jobs, whatever, in order to get our career off the ground, in order to get that house, that car, that whatever. We will do anything. We will move jobs. We will move cities. We will take any kind of extra training we can get our hands on to make that success occurs. And then we start to move up the corporate ladder, or our businesses, if you're an entrepreneur, get to a certain point, and then we get complacent and lazy. And then we try to justify that it's okay. We shouldn't complain because, we have it better than so-and-so. And, we've done this and I don't really want to work that overtime. And I really don't want to go back to school. And, I got a young family at home. I should be home with them. So we do all of that to kind of numb ourselves out. And other ways that we numb ourselves out is we will get into overconsumption. So we will do things like binge watch Netflix. Remember when Blackberries came out and everybody talked about Crackberry because everybody was on the phones all the time? That kind of thing as a way to not look outside of ourselves and go, wow, do I really like what I've created? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give you a set of questions to get you very clear on why you're choosing it. And then at the end of the video, I'll tell you what you can do. And then we're going to have a set of questions to kind of get you out of that rut and start to break that chain or those handcuffs so that you can move forward. So I'm going to read them to you so that we have it nice and clear. And this is a system that I personally use. It's also the system that I've recommended to some of my clients. So you're going to get a piece of paper, or if you journal, grab your journal. Now, as you go through the questions, write down everything that comes to mind, even if it seems crazy or insane. Write it down. If it's there for a reason. We don't want you to overthink this. What we want you to do is just barf everything out onto the paper so you can find why you're choosing this kind of crazy. Okay? And we want to be 100% honest. You're not going to be sharing this with anyone. You're not going to be showing it to anyone. No one's going to know your reasons. You're just going to write them down. Okay? So, question number 1. Let me read this for you. What is the value of staying in a position that is not inspiring just for money? Like, what's the value? Are you so far in debt that you need to keep that income level? Do you not want to have to give up your car? Do you not want to have to give up your extracurricular activities? Do you like to go out and splurge on meals every night? What would you have to give up if you weren't able to stay in this position and have that kind of money? Okay. Question number 2. What is the value of not feeling excited and alive every day? Now that might seem like a very weird question, but there is value to it. Otherwise you wouldn't do it. Like, is it to fit in, or, people who are overly happy are crazy? What's the value? Well, everybody else is doing it. I've heard a lot of things like, well, that's how this industry is. Yeah, but it doesn't have to be that way. And the industry got there somehow, which means the industry can change into something else. Question number 3. Do I feel fulfilled at the end of the workday so that when I get home, I am excited to share my day, or am I bitching, whining, and complaining so that my family avoids me like the plague? I remember years ago when I left architecture and design and got into health and wellness. And I had been to, I think it was Easter, and then by Thanksgiving I had totally transitioned and was in this new career, and I'd gone up for Thanksgiving. So many of my family members said, oh, thank God we actually want to visit with you now, because when you would come up, all you do is bitch incessantly about your job and the people you worked with and the people you worked for and everything about it. I had no idea I was that unhappy. I just thought people weren't coming over, or they weren't staying very long because they did everything they could to get the hell away from me. And bless their hearts. I know my family tried to tell me I also know that I was most likely too stubborn to listen. So, question number 4. Have I decided somewhere that I cannot do better, so I might as well suck it up? Right? People will do this in certain careers. They're like, well, I'm already top of the food chain. I'm already the lead person and I can't go any farther unless I go out and start my own company, but I don't want to do that, blah, 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 or I'm too old, or I'm too fat, or too broke, or too whatever. They will make all these reasons of why. Okay? Question number 5. What am I using to numb myself out by overconsumption to stay in this life that I've created? Is it social media? Is it Netflix, drugs, alcohol, food, shopping, exercise, sex, debt? Where have you buried yourself so that that becomes your primary point of focus so that you can't pay attention to what's going on out here, right? So for example, if I, which I did, I put on 35 pounds so then I could beat myself up every day about being overweight instead of going, I really hate what I'm doing every day. It's not that I don't have time to cook meals or work out or exercise and do this and this. It's that if I did that, then I might become aware that I hated the job I was in. So, or Netflix. Oh my gosh, thank goodness it was fixed. Question number 6. What is the worst thing that could happen if I changed jobs? Now, this could be things like the grass isn't always greener on the other side. What happens if I start with them and they don't like me and they fire me? What happens if I do all of this change just to realize I left behind a great job? Now, I did this, and I'll talk about that later. Question number 7. If I made less money for a little while, like let's not even put that out there to the universe that you're always going to make less money if you leave, would I lose everything? Now, if one of your overconsumptions is shopping for stuff you don't need and you're in debt up to your eyeballs, so that if you lost, your job, you'd be screwed and lose everything by the end of the month, that gives you awareness of where you need to start your shift, okay? I remember years ago, we deliciously buried ourselves in debt so that we couldn't choose something else, or one of us couldn't quit our jobs or change jobs or whatever. So what we ended up doing was we paid down our credit card, but then we lowered the credit limit. And it was amazing. We had to fight with the banks to lower our credit limit because we had like $75,000 worth of credit card credit availability. And now we're still only sitting at about $5,000 because that just works for us. We really don't need to have debt. Period. Like if we want something, we'll save up for it first. So, but that's a whole other discussion. Now, take that sheet or take that piece of paper, set it to the side. We're going to do the flip side and then I'll tell you what to do with that first sheet. Okay? So again, I'm going to read you the questions. Question number 1. What would it be like to wake up every morning excited for what I get to do today? Now I want you to go through your senses. What would it sound like? What would you see? What would you hear? What would you taste? Right? Write it all out. Okay? Question number 2. If time, money, and knowledge were not an issue, what would you choose? Right? And for some of you, you might want to throw in age. I seem to be seeing that a lot lately in my clientele, people going, well, I'm too old to start over. Not if it lights a fire in you. You'll get there quicker than anybody else. Okay, question number 3. Do I currently have the skill set to do that? If you don't, that's okay. It's either a yes or a no, or yes could be polished, or no, not at all. That's fine, just write it down. Question number 4. If I don't have the skill set to do that, where would I go to get it? Is it mentoring? Is it a workshop, a webinar, back to school? In back to school, is it evening classes, day classes, online classes? We are in such a great time right now where we can really have access to anything at anywhere. Okay? Question number 5. How much more fun would my family have with me if I was on fire every day? What would that look like every night after work if you came home fired up, sang while you cooked supper and did the dishes and walked the dog and went out and did sports or went out and did an event or played a card game? How much more fun would you be for your family? How much better memories would you be creating? How much more of a empowered leader or role model would you be for your family? Okay, question number 6. What else is possible with my income that I've never even considered? Such a fun one. So the example I want to give you here is I had been doing a contract a few years ago, and it was pretty much a guaranteed $15,000 a month, which was lovely revenue. And because of the efficiencies we'd put into place, it ended 6 weeks early. But I, like most people do, and at that time, I had pre-spent that money in my head. So all of a sudden, I felt like I'd lost something I didn't actually even have. So I kind of went into a bit of a slump, and I do what I call walk it off, where I will walk and ask questions and outside and breathe the fresh air and get inspired. And what came up was, well, I've always wanted to do this 4-day retreat that everybody's always requested. I now have the time to put that on. So I had 3 weeks to put it on, or 3 weeks to get it ready before I put it on, a week of advertising, the workshop, and then the follow-up. I made $25,000, which I could not have made if I was still doing that contract. Now, I would have never looked for that opportunity if I was staying stuck in something that wasn't bringing me joy. Okay? So write it all out, even if it sounds crazy, right? Okay, question number 7. What step could I take right now to get me going in this direction? And this is a baby step. This isn't a sign up for a course. This can be just as simple as Google courses or Google investments of blah, 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 or anything like that. Or talk to someone, make a phone call, send an email, something little, because when we start to take action, we shift our energy into movement, and it will make us feel lighter right out of the gates. It will start to break those golden handcuffs so that we feel like we have a choice. Now, let me share a personal example. I'm actually going to share a couple of ones. So, in the last year of my clinic, we were set to make $550,000 that year, which would be great. I had a great team. I had amazing clients. We were winning awards. Everything was running tickety-boo, and I freaking hated it. I could not get my butt out of bed in the morning. I was pounding coffee to the point where my blood sugar was through the roof. I put on 35 pounds. I was eating so poorly and had dropped all of my health regime of meditation and exercise and all of that, that I had psoriasis so bad all over my body that I looked like a viral case of plague-like measles. Like I should have been locked up and everybody have to wear rubber suits to be around me. It was so bad. But yet I kept pushing it. And I would come home, I would ignore my family because I just wanted to shut down, and I would binge Netflix, for hours, 2, 3 in the morning, so that would then feed into my exhaustion for the next day. So when I actually sat down and took a good look at it, I just hated what I created. Like it was over, so over, but the income was great, the lifestyle was great, so I kept trying to morph and manipulate myself to stay in it because, everyone else would have loved to have had that. Well, now I'm at the point where they can have it. So what I did is I sat down, I did those 7 questions of what I was currently creating and the 7 questions of what I would like to create and feel. And then I started to make a move. As soon as I did that, it was literally less than a month. I spent a few days asking questions on it and doing some research. An opportunity came up where I could shut my clinic down. 9 days later, the clinic was shut down and I was moved into my home. Now wait. Do not applaud or celebrate that or think I am strong and courageous, because then I promptly left one shit show that I created and stepped into another. But movement is movement. So what I did is I talked to a friend of mine that I used to work with in architecture and design, which was my career before health and wellness many moons ago, and they asked me to come in and fill in for a summer vacation. Money was good, was the old team. They had all kinds of fancy coffee machines and sparkling waters and, cake day, fruity Tuesdays. It was amazing. Why would I want to leave? I wanted to leave because I hated it. I still wasn't doing what? Teaching, making the impact that I wanted to, offering transformational tools. I was grinding out blueprints and spec manuals and paperwork and site meetings and, even the engineers and the contractors, I worked with them for years. I loved them as people. I hated the work. I would come home and say to my family, this job is eating my soul. Why wasn't I listening? Took me a year True story. I'm being 100% honest so that if you've been stuck with the golden handcuffs for years, it's okay. Now, should I have left the clinic? Absolutely. That little movement lit me up for a good 8 to 10 months. It was only in the last couple months that I really got clear that, hey, wait a minute. My shift out of those golden handcuffs wasn't fully done. I needed to make another one. So what I did is I started to sit down and go, what do I need to invest in to make my shift occur? I had to sign up for a course. It was very expensive, right? $15,000 for 5 months. I had to hire an automation expert because it was something that I didn't have the skill set for, nor did I want to invest the time or money. Was it going to take me where I wanted to be? I had to invest in someone to help polish up some of my skill sets with speaking and presenting and all of that kind of stuff. Great. You know what? I want this over here. And I know if I get over the fact that this money, I could have this money consistently right now, but my heart's not in it, which means I'll be sick, right? That 35 pounds didn't shift when I was at that office, right? The psoriasis did not go away when I was at that office. But soon as I shifted, even those baby steps of researching what was required, the weight started to melt off. My skin started to clear up. I now sit across the table and share excitedly with my family what I did for the day. My husband, who I thought was one of my things where I said, you know, what will happen is that my husband would get very upset with me. And now he jokes around and says, you know, if you're a trophy wife, this is how you should talk to me. In other words, I don't really need to work, right? Now, knock on wood, I created that through my investments and so on and so forth. But you know what? Really, everybody, including myself, now has my back. So I am receiving more, so much more by breaking through those golden handcuffs, right? And you can too. So I highly, highly recommend using those questions. Now, if we're aware and we're willing to choose differently, stuff will show up. Okay? So, use the questions, use the tools. Love for you to subscribe and get these daily sparks delivered right to you every day or once a week. We're at once a week. And I would love for you to comment below and tell me, where have you handcuffed yourself and what did you choose that started for you to break free or to break free completely? Would love, love to hear from you. So enjoy, have fun. Here's to change and transfer. Cheers.